I'm Steve Karski. Welcome to another episode of On Ramp to Success podcast. Our guest today is Theresa Proctor. Theresa is an award-winning CEO and founder of Forward Movement Enterprises, one of the top emerging professional development training companies. Theresa has over 20 years of experience in corporate leadership. She has held 5 leadership roles with a widely recognized real estate corporation and successfully led teams from 5 to 3,500 team members. She brings that experience and excellence to her training in the areas of leadership, communication, and customer experience. Through her training, her clients embark upon a transformation from stagnant to strategic. Theresa also supports senior leaders with executive presence, impressive decision-making, and emotional intelligence training that results in higher team performance and profitability. Most recently, the employees and stakeholders of the U.S. Census Bureau fully embraced and raved about the dynamic strategies that she shared during her workshop, Developing Emotional Intelligence. With our conversation already in progress, let's listen to the insights Theresa Proctor has to share with us. Enjoy. So, Theresa, tell us about yourself. Who are you? And what are you up to and what are you doing?
Oh, wonderful. Well, first of all, I have to say thank you so much, Steve and John, for inviting me to your podcast. I know it is going to be absolutely dynamic. Everyone would want to subscribe to this podcast. That's first and foremost, okay? And so as far as myself, I am the CEO and founder of Forward Movement Enterprises. And what we do is we provide training solutions to government agencies as well as private sector corporations. And we absolutely enjoy what we do because it's all about transformation. It is all about transformation. So I also do some executive coaching as well. And one of my most recent, because, we talked earlier, it's all about expansion and providing another level of service to your clients. So I most recently went through this intensive certification around culture facilitation.
Wow.
Oh my word. When I tell you it stretched me, it stretched me so much, but it's all about conversation in the, within the teams and, getting to root issues, because a lot of times leadership, even they attempt to treat the symptoms, but not until we have that really pure, authentic conversation can we drill down and get to the actual root cause. So that's what culture facilitation does. And I'm so excited about it.
That sounds extremely exciting. Exciting. We have a good friend, Gideon, joining us as well here shortly. So he is going to be popping in to say hello. Gideon is also part of our dynamic trio, if you will. So the three of us share the load when it comes to this podcast, and we each utilize our own resources to bring in some guests and keep the conversation going. So as he shows up, don't be surprised.
Okay, cool, excellent.
So tell us a little bit about how you got here. What was your journey like? What were some of the struggles when you first started into this role of your own business and so on? Can you tell us a little bit about your background and what was that journey like?
Yeah, so I started out in commercial real estate. And then my next step was with a company, about 25,000 plus partners within that company. And I was a vice president there. And that taught me so much about culture and just really understanding various personalities. And so while I was there, we did a total refresh and revamping of their training and things of that nature. And I began to really enjoy it. I said, oh, wow, this is awesome. This is exciting. And so after that point, I began to receive requests because, I was the, one that facilitated training there, as well as the instructional design behind training. And so I would receive requests outside of the company. And so I
Wow.
said, okay, right. Wow. And so I said, okay, this is interesting, right? And it was one day, a very close friend of mine, she said, Theresa, I have this contract and I would love for you to, co-facilitate with me. And so I was like, okay, all right, I'll look into it. So we checked out some things and I said, sure, I'll do it. It was my defining moment, actually.
Nice.
Yeah, seriously. And I know we all have them, but not until you sit and reflect upon it can you really extract the value of that experience. And it was so amazing. Like we flowed, the attendees, the participants were just pulling, and I know that you all know this when you're in a room with people that have a thirst and desire for growth, you can feel it. And so,
Yeah.
boy, did we feel it. But that's what I needed to really, say, you know what, this is my sweet spot. This is what I absolutely enjoy. It's all about transformation. And if I can be a conduit, if I can be a facilitator of that transformation, oh, that's so rewarding. So then maybe not moments, but a little while later, I said, you know what? It's time to launch Forward Movement Enterprises. And I did back in 2016. And I tell you, it has been amazing ever since. Just tremendous opportunities, and I'm grateful. I'm so grateful.
Well, that is fantastic. And those defining moments in our life, they have such an impact after the fact. We notice it oftentimes later in our careers or in our businesses that, boy, that one instance didn't seem like a big deal at the time.
Yeah.
One request, one conversation, but it has lasting impact. It's one of those things that I think so many times we forget the impact that we make with people just with regular conversations. We can have what may seem like a tiny little piece of gratitude for somebody.
Wow.
Could totally transform their day or their week or maybe their business. So
Absolutely.
fantastic. Well, as you know, and I've sent you some information about the things that we talk about are related to success. And we talk about 4 different components of that. It starts with habits and rituals, and it gets into achievements and goals, and then mindset, and then your purpose and priorities. Tell us a little bit about, from your experience, habits that you've created or formed, or maybe habits that may have transformed you as you've developed your own business and your own identity.
Yes. So habits are everything. What a big word that is most of the time misused, right? But I tell you, so like every day in the morning, I work out, get my cardio in. I have time of meditation. I have to, because I do not know what the day holds. So I have to get my psychological armor, and my mental fortitude in place so that I can remain, calm and operate with diplomacy intact, right?
Yeah.
So those are some things that I do in the morning and the night before. I believe that we should all go to bed satisfied and wake up with determination, right? And so I always self-reflect each evening before I go to bed. I'm like, okay, so what did this day present to me? What went well? What do I need to improve upon? And what could I have done differently? Right? That's where a lot of leaders miss it, because they're so consumed with day-to-day activities. It's just like, oh, I got to get to the next day. I got to get to the next day, but not until you sit and reflect and really, ask yourself those critical questions will you begin to take on a new level of expansion and growth, even within yourself. And then I have to have my things to dominate list.
Your things to dominate list. Outstanding.
I have to have my things. Let me tell you something.
Tell us more about that.
So my husband laughs at me because I have a things to dominate list even on a Saturday. Because if I don't write it down, it may not get accomplished, right?
Right.
And so what I do is I jot down my priorities for the day. I have to prioritize my life so that when I rise the next morning with determination, I know what I need to tackle, my things to dominate list. And I'm telling you, it works tremendously. And you take on a new sense of accomplishment and achievement when you do that. I'm gonna tell you, it's so gratifying when you can just draw a line through did that.
And I love the way you put it, because it's not a to-do list. Things to dominate is a significantly different, gives you a different feel, gives you a different understanding and maybe urgency than, oh, I've got this to-do list and should I just check it off and move on. Much more of a priority. It
does. And it removes the past, because, you know, we are empowered to give ourselves a pass. Oh, you know what? I'll just get to that tomorrow.
Right.
It'll get done, right? But when you say no, it's things that I have to dominate on this day. Oh, it becomes non-negotiable.
And that's, it have to is part of that domination piece.
Yes.
I absolutely love that. That's fantastic. Can you give us a sense of, you know, what are some of the big things that you often have on those things to dominate? I mean, what are some of the types of things that you really look forward to dominating that maybe other people might keep delaying and postponing in their career or their business?
Well, you know, I think that everyone is different, and it's based upon what you see as success. And that goes back to what are your values, you know, what are some things that you value? For me, it could change from day to day and week to week. It's contingent upon what are the goals that I have for this week, for this month. And then that basically directs my attention, all focused on the goal. What's the goal this week, right? What's the goal this month? And that's what really makes the difference, right? That's what really makes the difference. Yes, absolutely. So yes, I'm telling you. And then it's just, for me, it's all about over delivery. My clients, I don't want their response to be, oh yeah, that was great. Oh, that was good. I want them to be, that was outstanding.
Absolutely.
You know, my goal is to be the top 10 in my field, and we're coming. We're coming to that point. And I tell every one of my clients, listen, I am going to be your go-to. Every time I meet a new client and we provide a service and it meets and exceeds their expectations, I tell them, I said, I want to be your go-to, the first person that's on the forefront of your mind, the first company that's on the forefront of your mind when you think of who can we get to knock this out the ballpark. So over delivery is everything.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And listen, Steve, have you heard that, you know, some people said, you know, a long time ago, they say under promise and over deliver. Well, guess what? I'm never going to under promise because I'm lying.
There you go.
I'm not going to under promise. No, I'm going to promise and then
over deliver.
That's it.
Theresa, that is fantastic. That is a tiny little thing that says volumes about you, but it is something to live by. And I've known that about you for the couple of years that I've seen you, you know, because of some of our past workings in personal development.
Absolutely.
So that is just outstanding. So you're still doing kind of coaching and delivery, training and delivery type components. What are you doing from your own personal development standpoint? What have you been doing lately to continue to drive and expand? You mentioned a little bit about a class that you were taking or some coaching that you were taking. Can you tell us a little bit more about maybe some of the things that you do in personal development?
Oh, let me tell you, it's critical. And the reason why is because none of my clients desire old information. It's all about cutting edge, understanding what's next, getting ahead. Okay, do you have the foresight to let us in on what's coming up? What should we be looking for? And so I really stay progressive in making certain that I subscribe to reading every day. Every day. Actually, I wake up a little earlier just to make certain that I have time to read. Because if you know what you do first, you get done.
You have time for that. Yes.
I'm trying to tell you. And then, so that was a culture facilitation certification that we just received. And then also, I just wanted to hone my skills around virtual facilitation. So I also received a certified virtual facilitators designation as well, because, you know, it's all about the experience now, you know, and everything is virtual. We're in the digital age right now. And I want to make certain that my delivery is exactly what the client needs. And, you know, again, factoring in that over delivery as well. So I just like continue to hone your skills, you know, continue to look for avenues that will really feed, you know, just some relative information so that you become the subject matter expert in your discipline, in your field, in your industry, that is.
Mm-hmm. And when you're the subject matter expert, then you're a thought leader. Then people flock to you because they need to come to you for the latest and greatest information.
Yes, Steve, that's it. A thought leader, for sure. Absolutely.
Can't do that without continuing your learning and seeing what else is out there. So I think that's fantastic.
Yes.
So you mentioned earlier the goals that you have and so on. Tell us a little bit about maybe your goal setting process. How do you have like annual situation where you sit down and set goals? What is your thought process or the way that you go about setting your goals?
Absolutely. So, first of all, we do goals basically for the year. You know, we have yearly annual goals, 5-year, 10-year goals, but then on an annual basis, we have goals, things that we desire to accomplish for 2021, right? And then we revisit those goals on a weekly basis, because if not, out of sight becomes out of mind, right?
That's right.
That's the worst thing that can happen. You have these strategic priorities and goals that your company desires to accomplish, but no one's going back to say, where are we? You know, have we accomplished this? Or what do we need to do differently? I'm telling you, because even with the most recent disruption that the world has encountered, right? We had to all recalibrate.
Oh, yeah.
You know, we had, okay, whatever goals we had, you know, in place, okay, what are we going to do to ensure that those goals are still met? Or do we need to shift? Do we need to pivot? So goals are so critical. And you know what's so interesting, Steve, is that when I speak with my participants in training and learning experiences, I ask them about goals. You know, do you have any personal goals? And their response, I want to say about 60%, and that's a low number, say yes. 40% most of the time say, well, I've been thinking about some things, but I haven't really taken the time to, you know, actually jot them down and build some strategy around it. And, you know, you would think that, wow, oh, wow, you know, you look like you're accomplished and, you know, you're knocking it out the ballpark. Do you mean to you don't have goals? And they say, well, no, I don't. You know, it's just a natural ability for me to succeed at whatever I do. I said, wow, could you imagine what you're missing out on as a result of settling where you are based upon your natural ability? Oh, Theresa, I never thought about that. Yes, right? So you always have to have someone around you. And I just want to tell your listeners this. You always should have someone around you that demands another level from you, right? The ones that's just not going to always applaud everything that you do, but the one that's going to say, oh, no, Steve, you can do better. No, come on, and speaking about those thought leaders, those individuals that can take your idea and just make it explosive. Have you thought about this? Those big picture visionaries. Those are the ones that I have in my circle.
That is excellent. Who you associate with, Theresa, has a huge impact on how you perform. And like you said, people that are going to bring you to the next level. I think it's so interesting that I do find, just like you, I find people that don't have goals. And it's that piece of goals can take you out of your comfort zone. If you don't have goals, boy, it's so nice to stay in my comfort zone. I don't have any goals. I don't have any stresses. I mean, other than family and so on. But goals are intended to give you some good stress, some things you're pushing towards. You're getting out of your comfort zone to maybe make a sales call that you wouldn't normally make. Have that phone call, whatever it happens to be. Start a new workshop.
Yes.
Create something new.
Steve, you have just hit on a word that I have, two words that I have been, that my participants have all said recently, which is comfort zone. Comfort zone. Theresa, could you tell me, what do I need to do? I just feel like I'm comfortable where I am. And, how can I step outside of my comfort zone? Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so I take them through a process of just really self-inquiry. I ask them questions, because when you just tell a person what to do, they don't necessarily take ownership over the new decision. But if you ask them thought-provoking and stimulating questions, it makes them think. You give them the gift of thinking, whereby they'll self-reflect and then determine, I can't stay here. I said, listen, you cannot stay in your comfort zone. And when you exit out, you enter into a new income zone. Income, not only monetarily, monetary is good, but not only monetary, I'm talking about peace. I'm talking about joy. I'm talking about fulfillment as a result of stepping outside of your comfort zone. So you just hit something that I know without any reservation, people need to hear. I need to do something different.
There you go. Fantastic. So I got to put you on the spot for a second.
Okay.
Do you have your go-to question to get people to think on their own? As you were just talking about, you need to ask them questions to get them to think, how do I get outside my comfort zone? What kind of questions do you have? Do you have a go-to question, or what type of question do you generally ask them?
So that's a great question right there. But each situation is different. And I don't believe in a cookie cutter approach, because every person that I coach, they're unique and they may require a different type of question. But typically, we may start off and say, okay, so tell me something that you desire to do, but you haven't done. And so contingent upon where their response is will determine my next question. So say they share something with me like, I wanted to go and bungee jump. I don't know. I wanted to, just, jump out of a plane, something, really, really extravagant, I would say. But so then I would say, okay, let me ask you this. What 3 emotions would you feel after jumping out of that plane? Man, I would feel, oh my goodness, energized. I would feel achievement.
Mm-hmm.
I would just feel so exhilarated, so I'm taking them to the end.
Yeah.
And then we would establish some reverse engineering whereby they're going to make the decision to say, you know what, I have to do this. I have to step outside of this comfort zone, because in their mind. And so the thing about our mind and our conscious, it can't determine what's real or what's pseudo, right?
Hey.
And so they already feel this adrenaline going through their body as if they are there. And as a result, we get it done.
And that is absolutely great, Theresa, especially because the way you brought it to them was about the feeling as opposed to about the thinking about it.
Yeah.
How would it make you feel is so much different than what do you think you would have if you jumped out of an airplane? Well, I'd have the experience. Well, that's not feeling the experience. That's expressing that you feel the experience. So feeling it from an emotional standpoint, that is fantastic. I love it.
And that's where we are right now, Steve. That's where we are. And even as it relates to our learning and development industry, I would say prior to this pandemic, most of our focus has been on the knowledge transfer, getting the information to each participant in our sessions. But now what we have to begin to do is really step into unpacking those feelings. See, I once thought, and this is what information will do for you, and just continue to hone your skills in a particular area. I once would say, let me tell you something. If you desire to change behavior, you must deliver new information. I live by that. New information is what will modify and shift behavior and conduct. Not anymore. Not where we are today.
What's the new mantra?
What it is now is really focusing on what are the feelings that you just mentioned. What are the feelings? What are the emotions that's causing a blockage as it relates to receiving new information? See, when you focus on the feelings and the emotions, now, after we unpack that, now when I receive new information and my emotions are in the right position, I now process differently. I now can establish my personal course of transformation as a result of what was just shared with me. But when you don't have that emotional stability, it blocks that whole process. And it's just like you're in a class, you're facilitating, and you wonder why some get it and some don't, right? And it's the same, it's just like we're all here together.
That's right.
Right? But it's because of their emotional state. So that's why I have now built into my curriculum is addressing that. We're going to address that throughout our experience, whereby at the close, you don't feel any barriers, you feel liberty, and you now can have created a course of action whereby you can bring on that transformation that you desire.
And you believe it.
And you believe it.
Yeah. Excellent. Yeah. That's great stuff, Theresa. And you're really taking us into some different areas. I know one of the things that you've done training on in the past and have been an expert on is emotional intelligence. Can you tell us a little bit? It's a subject I've dabbled in and done some work in as well, but I really love to get your take on emotional intelligence now that we're in a virtual world. Emotional intelligence was directed to interpersonal conversations, but now we're virtual. So tell us a little bit about maybe how it's different or how it's the same, and what your thoughts are as far as the virtual space.
Wow. If you have never taken any type of course or a training workshop around emotional intelligence, you're missing out. You are missing out. Now more than ever, that's a skill that you have to have, especially in leadership. So emotional intelligence is all about awareness of oneself, and awareness of, okay, I noticed that Steve has now, in this virtual setting, he's leaned back a little. Okay, let me keep an eye on that. That may mean that he's disconnecting with the information that was just shared, right? So it's awareness around all those things, whereby, as a result, you can make the best decisions. So I'm telling you, now more than ever, leaders especially, subscribe to, and even with your teams, get everyone on board with making certain that, hey, you know what? We need to increase our emotional intelligence, because the word of today is all about empathy. Empathy. Yeah. And if I'm currently battling with an internal bias that I have not yet discovered, my empathy is going to be impacted. And Steve, guess what? That became a learned ability for me. Mm-hmm. I didn't have empathy naturally. I did not. When I was younger, and it has a lot to do with my upbringing. I was raised in a single parent household. My mom worked 2 jobs, and I was the one that cared for my little sister. So, I mean, there would be days that, I would have to catch 2 buses to go pick up my little sister from school, bring her back home, prepare dinner. I was cooking dinner at the age of 12. I would have to prepare dinner for her, help her with her homework, get her ready for bed, because again, my mom worked 2 jobs, so she didn't come home till later in the evening. So I carried that over into leadership. I remember my second leadership position. I led a team of 53 team members. The youngest was 22 and the most seasoned was 68. So it was a multi-generational team, but I came in there like, listen, we're going to do this and we're going to do it this way, right? Lacked empathy, and even my emotional intelligence was low, I have to admit. And I didn't know it until one day I was at the copier machine. That's how long ago I was at the copier machine, and one of my team members was faxing her resume. We don't fax resumes. We email resumes now.
Not faxing it to your HR department, but faxing it to another company, I assume, right?
To another company.
Yes.
And she forgot. She forgot that it was there, obviously. So, but what that did for me is it was a moment that I said, you know what? I need to take a look at myself, do a little introspection. What do I need to do differently? And so let me tell you something. I interviewed my team members. I interviewed them, and I just asked them some questions about, what do you like best? Really, I allowed them to just share and let them know. And I let them know, hey, listen, your voice here matters. So I want you to be very open and do not have a fear of reprisal. Nothing is going to happen as a result of you sharing with me but growth, because that's my goal here. And so I let them know. I set the environment, as one that we're just exchanging. And so that's where I began to work on my empathy and my emotional intelligence. Now it has become a natural ability for me. Like, and if you were to come on, our time together today, and you weren't smiling, I would just immediately say, okay, Steve, wait a minute, what's going on? And so it's a process, but it has been worthwhile for sure.
Yeah, and certainly a lot of growth comes from all of those experiences. I know that my first leadership roles were just horrible compared to my latter leadership roles. You just learn from those because your mindset, there's very little intuitive training for leadership from my experience. Your mindset is, well, a leader tells them what to do, so just tell them what to do, and that's all you need to do. But clearly that's not what leadership is all about.
That's right. That's clearly not what leadership is all about. And one of my favorite authors as it relates to leadership is John Maxwell. He says everything rises and falls upon leadership. Everything. That I tell you, his books are the ones that I give away the most. Like, you know what you need. So like I have a couple of his books just sitting right here on my desk. So it's one that's called How Successful People Think. Just a real easy read, right? And so I give away these books because I'm telling you, it really helps to change your thinking. And as a result, your life is transformed. Not only. Yeah, yes. Oh, right. Cool. And not only in the workplace, but also at home. that's another piece that I believe a lot of our clients love, is that we provide work-life integration in our instruction, in our delivery, because guess what? You're the one common denominator is the person. We don't shut it off when we get into the office. Listen, if things at home are going well and great, guess what? The productivity and the performance in the office is skyrockets.
Absolutely.
And the reverse, things not going so well, it impacts everything. So we really got to make certain that we stay focused on providing those resources and those channels for team members to understand that, hey, guess what? They not only care about me in the workplace, they care about me as an individual.
And, that goes a long ways when they understand that and they really believe that in their heart, that you really do care about me. It just makes such a difference in the workplace.
Oh my goodness, Steve, when I finally got it in leadership and when I understood empathy and I began to operate with high emotional intelligence, my team loved me. You talking about a 180. It was to the point. I remember this one gentleman, he was just dynamic. He was an awesome guy. But administratively, he knew that was I'll just say this, that was an opportunity for improvement for him.
Okay. I understand.
But he was open and honest about it. And he was so driven to fulfill the requirements of his job. He would say to me, hey, Theresa, I know it's 5:00. I just want to let you know I'm going to clock out, but I'm going to stay here and do this work. I said, now listen, you can't do that. Listen, you're not getting me in trouble. But that was as a result of leadership, taking on the posture to say, no, we care about the whole person, right? And they will they will go above and beyond when they know that you care.
Yeah, very good. Tell us a little bit. We talked a little bit about leadership, and I know it's one of your favorite subjects to talk about, but tell us a little bit maybe about your experiences with maybe your worst example of a leader that you may have worked with, or somebody that you had to deal with. I don't want to hear names. I'm just looking for stories of examples of bad leadership if you read about them or heard about them. I'm sure you've never experienced them, but why don't you give us some examples of some poor leadership examples, if you don't mind.
See, the first thing that I thought about was this woman, this awesome woman. And boy, oh my gosh, she had such a big ego. And I remember one day we were preparing this correspondence, and this was like really early on. I wasn't even in leadership at the time, but I just remember we were preparing this correspondence to send out to about 640 of our clients. Okay.
Wow. Yep.
So it was a big deal, right? And she was the one that actually, prepared it and, and had copies made or what have you. So now we're preparing to send out this correspondence. And I looked at the letter and I read it. And there were some errors, both in spelling and in grammar. And so she wasn't in the office, but I knew the urgency behind getting this letter out to our client. So I called her and then I said, hey, good afternoon. Hey, listen, just really quickly, I'm reading the letter that you would like for us to send to our clients. And I just want to let you know, I've come across just a couple of errors, or just really small things, because I knew that she had a big ego. So I had to tread lightly. Well, that still didn't work. So I said to her, listen, I know that I don't have access to your computer, but what I'm willing to do is type up the letter all over, send it to you so that you can review it prior to it, we distribute it or what have you, so we can get your approval, and then we'll be all good. Her response to me, Steve, was, are you attempting to correct me?
Short and sweet, huh?
I was like, are you serious? She said, are you attempting to correct me? I said, no, listen, I think that no, please understand that is not my goal. I just know that your name is on this, and I'm just attempting to support the goal, you know. And I was like, really, I was like, I cannot believe she said that to me. And so she said, okay, well, listen, that won't be necessary. Please proceed with the instruction that you've already received. I said, okay, will do. Enjoy the rest of your day. And we had to send out a letter. Because of her ego, we had to send out a letter that totally misrepresented the company.
Wow.
Absolutely. Because, I mean, if I were to receive that, I'm like, what is this? Did anybody proof this? You know, it wasn't like a lot, but it was enough. You know, when we're supposed to be a company of excellence, come on.
And I'm sure her boss heard about that at some point in time.
Well, let me tell you, that was my sign. You know, when they say when you're looking for a sign, when you perceive it, I said I cannot be connected. I mean, because one of my core values is excellence, and this is there's no alignment here. I can't be connected to that. And I resigned. I resigned, and I later found out that she was released to her destiny.
Wow. You know, and that is deservedly so. I mean, that is this type of thing that most companies, unless they're related to the boss, most companies are not going to be willing to tolerate somebody that harms their impression in the world.
Exactly. And I believe the most savvy, brilliant leaders listen to their brilliant employees. You know, I made certain to hire people that were smarter than me when I stepped into leadership. I had to, because I don't want to be the one. Listen, if we always think alike, one of us isn't needed.
Exactly.
So I want those around me that's going to stimulate me to think differently, that's going to bring some value to the table. Man, that to me is a savvy leader, one that truly gets it.
Absolutely. And that is a great example. I mean, so many times, especially leaders that I'll say have low self-esteem, in my experience, are not willing to listen. Often just do not want people to, I'll say, judge them. I'm not sure if that's the right word, but they don't feel secure enough to be open to say, you know, like you did, ask your employees, tell me what I can do better, what I'm doing differently. So on.
Absolutely. And you just hit on something. So with our leadership training, our leaders, they're very open. We set the environment where, listen, I want you to be psychologically safe, knowing that what we discuss stays here. You know, I'm not going to say this person said this. No, never, right? Confidentiality. Right. But what they did give us permission to share was that confidence is one of the top attributes that more leaders desire. They really want, as you mentioned, they really want to support around just fortifying my self-esteem as a leader. You know, taking more risk. You know, as we talk about different cultures, like, what do I need to do to transform my culture, right? Because they now a lot of team members and leaders they desire more of the adhocracy culture. You know, that represents that innovation, greater risk taking. You know, they're the ones that are comprised of the thought leaders. One to say, okay, what's next? What's fresh? You know, like Google, Facebook, you know, always thinking of the next.
And, so many people are comfortable, like you talked about, in their comfort zone. Those folks don't like to think about the next. They want to stay where we are right now. And the next is really where we need to go.
The next is where we need to go for sure. I told, we did this customer experience training just last week, and we were going over the 6 basic needs of the customer. And before this pandemic, one of the basic needs was control, right?
Right.
Not anymore, because we are in such uncertainty now. The new need is directive. Your customer what are we going to do? What's next? Instruct me, lead me, because everything else is so uncertain. I'm looking for leadership now. Even from a customer experience. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we really drilled down on that and created some scenarios around that and how we can really extend that to the customer, because it's one of their needs.
And understandably so. It is so interesting. Every business that you go in, you need to think about before you get there. Do I have a mask? What is their process? Going to a dentist or doctor's office is so significantly different during this pandemic than it was before. And everybody's got a little different process. So that direction makes perfect sense. I don't know how I'm supposed to react to keep everyone safe.
Yes. I mean, just earlier today, we were just thinking, oh, wait, we need to renew our driver's license, right? So we were just thinking that we could, just run to the MVA and just get it renewed. But no, not now. You now have to go online, set an appointment, and we don't have an appointment until December.
Wow. And when does your license renew?
It's expired.
There we go.
Well, listen, Steve, the thing is, I'm not even driving.
Yeah, that's a great point.
I'm traveling around the world from the comfort of my home. But our governor Hogan, he provided us with a letter that we could take with us when we're out commuting to let, if we're ever pulled over, to let an officer know that, this is what it is for now until we can get our license renewed. So we're good.
Interesting. That's very good. And I think you brought up some really universal topics, because the folks that I'm dealing with now are all over the world. I'm connected with people on social media from Australia, Germany, Asia, Africa, all over the world. And time zones don't mean anything anymore, except when you're live like this. I mean, there's so much communication that isn't needed through face-to-face communication. Let's talk a little bit about communication and tell us, from your experience, how has your communication situation changed with being home most of the time, not traveling, being on podcasts, on Zoom calls, on Facebook, whatever it happens to be?
So it's twofold. I have a twofold response. One, as it relates to communication and being Zoom, a lot of us are starting to have Zoom fatigue. But what we have to do as leaders is we have to choose wisely, because now more than ever, there's just so much. So on average, there would be about 3,500 different messages that will compete for our attention every single day. Now, I believe with everyone being digital and virtual now, you can multiply that by 10.
Yeah.
Right. So we really need to just be more intentional about how we are maximizing our time. That's number one. And then the second part of that communication piece, because that is so big for me, is that you remember back in the day when you would talk about communication, that we would say it's not what you say, it's how you say it.
How you say it.
Right,
Yes.
right. Not anymore. What you say and how you say it matters, right? Because now everything is about communication. We're a little bit more sensitive now. more than ever. And so we have more time to really read into a message or misread a message. So now we have to be more deliberate about how we say things, our word selection, our tonality, and our email correspondence, text, as well as verbally sharing as well. So yeah, communication has shifted.
And that is a great point. I think one of the things that's so interesting to me and also frustrating to me is you don't get the eye contact anymore. I mean, we're in this Zoom call. I can only see either the camera or I can see you. I can't see both of you. I want to smile at you and at the camera at the same time. It's that Zoom calls to some degree create that lack of eye contact because everyone is looking at the person that's speaking as if they're giving them eye contact when they're really giving their screen eye contact.
They're Brady
virtual picture. Yeah, they're Brady Bunch, exactly.
Right.
And so that interaction, I don't know when we get back to face, will we start looking at people's eyeballs or will we be glancing at their nose or whatever? It will be interesting.
Great point.
We might feel uncomfortable getting eye-to-eye contact in the future. I don't know.
You know what, Steve? And I don't know if we're going to get back. I really don't know what's to come as a result, as it relates to how we interact with others. But one thing that we do is we share just that virtual etiquette. Prior to our training, because some people, this was especially in early on this year, they were so, it was foreign to them. Oh, how do I work this? Wait a minute, use the chat, and it was just like, okay, you know what? Let's scale it back. Okay, so let's jump on 15 minutes prior to, or for some that were totally foreign, we had a separate session for them, about a 30-minute session, just to review how to navigate this process, right? And because it matters. Like if you have someone that don't desire to turn on their video, hey, how can and we don't force it. We don't force it because we want everyone to have a sense of belonging even in this virtual space. And so we say, okay, so hey, listen, if you desire to keep your camera off, hey, we're still looking for your engagement. So right at the bottom of the screen is a chat feature. We want you to type in, right? We want you to respond. And that's what makes the experience just that more memorable. Because I believe now more than ever, when you create a moment, you earn a memory. Right. And with so much information, so many different, it's omni channels now. And so when we make the experience, when we heighten that experience, it becomes memorable. Like they leave saying, I needed that. And when is the next one?
There you go. Absolutely. And we're giving you a demonstration of John's picture on our screen today. John was going out to help Gideon connect, and they were having some technological difficulties. So that's the reason that he's not joining us with his live face, but rather his still picture. You know how technology sometimes happens. Uh-oh, I think I might have jarred him to come back online.
You awakened the giant. I didn't want to just jump in and out because I didn't want to disturb you guys' flow. You had a great flow going, but I was trying to help Gideon get logged in. He had a little trouble, so I was working with him, and I didn't want to be distracted while you guys were talking. I am stealing what you said, though, about when you create a moment, you earn a memory. I love that.
Yes, and that's what it's all about. That's what it's all, because clients have so many options. So what do you need to do as a business owner, as a team member, or as a leader to over deliver, right? What do you need to do differently to increase your visibility as a brand, even inside of the workplace? That starts with an ownership mindset. not walking into your office or not getting online for the day and saying, you know what, I'm just going to do what they've asked me to do, whatever. No, what is my purpose here, right? What do I need to do differently? What new idea can I share with leadership? And same thing with leadership, as opposed to just accepting things. Oh, this is the way it is. It's always been this way. No, what do we need to do differently? What do I need to speak with the CEO about as a result to just really taking this company to the next level?
Yeah, very, very good points. And you've made a couple of instances where you mentioned stepping up your game and being, kind of above and beyond what the expectation is. And I think so many times, John and I've had this conversation in the past, that so many times you go to a Zoom call, and even when there are professional people on that Zoom call, it might be the president of the bank, he's in a t-shirt and jeans on a Zoom call, maybe eating lunch or maybe drinking something, I'm not, but people take Zoom calls less serious than they take face-to-face conversations when they're really in a meeting. And I think they're missing an opportunity to be shown, and their brand is being reflected on that screen, whether they know it or not.
Steve, you just hit on one of my pet peeves, and that is eating while on Zoom. Oh my word. Oh, that just, it just gets underneath my skin. Like I get right around here, right? Like, stop it. Turn your camera off. We don't want to see that.
I want to hit a button and just buzz you.
I just want to shock you. Just shock you. Each time you chew, just get a shock, right? But so with that, we're not saying, because my core value, another one of my core values is enjoyment. Right? And if I'm not having a great time, if you're not having a great time, that diminishes the experience. But when we are all having a great time, we're still professional. We still, understand that, there's certain etiquette that's expected to make certain we heighten this experience, then you leave feeling fulfilled, right? We're not looking for it to be boring.
Absolutely.
No, absolutely not. But we're looking to, like you said just now, Steve, to make certain that your brand is represented well.
Very good. So we got about 5 minutes left. I want to make sure, let me give you this question, and it's kind of around maybe your own philosophy, if you will. What's, you're telling the world, so to speak, what is it that you think is the core components of success? What do you think really made success for folks in life? Tell us a little bit about your thoughts on that.
Absolutely. So success is defined by each individual, right? So it goes back to core values. So for, let's just say, hypothetically speaking, for Lisa, and a lot of people in this pandemic, their core values have shifted. So a lot of people are saying now, with so much death, family is now at the top of my chart. Like, that's my number one core value is family. And I'm not going to miss an opportunity to be with my family. I'm not going to miss an opportunity to love my family. And so success to that individual, because that's one of their top core values, is just basically every opportunity that they get to have that quality time with their family. Right? Yeah. So for me, it's all about transformation. Each time that we host an experience and the attendees on their feedback, on their evaluation, they say, my thinking has shifted. I now get it. Or, just anything around transformative conduct and thinking, I'm fulfilled. I am totally fulfilled. And I say this, rather than becoming a person of success, why don't you just become a person of value? Mm-hmm. When your value increases, success becomes inevitable. So that takes me back to that over delivering, making certain that we exceed the expectations of those we partner with. Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good. John, what's one of the questions that you just have been dying to tell Theresa? And you've been able to be quiet all this time. I know you got something you can't wait to tell her.
You must have saw it on my face.
It's written all over your face.
We're making notes.
Okay.
I purposely put myself on mute because I'm such a curious person. I have a habit of interrupting, so
I remember that about you, but that's a great trait to have, John.
It can be too much of a good thing sometimes. So it's one of those things that I value it, and I'm working on improving on it. So I had a question, and actually I'll give credit. I'm stealing this from Gideon because Gideon came up with this one. If we came to your town, first of all, what town do you live and work in?
The great state of Maryland.
Okay, what city are you closest to if you're in a suburb?
Bowie, Maryland.
Okay.
So yeah, we're really centralized, right outside of DC and Virginia, Washington, DC and Virginia.
Okay. So if Steve and I came to your town and we're doing a seminar and we called you up and said, hey, if you got time, we want you to come out to dinner with us. Where would we go and why?
First of all, John, I'm a foodie. So I would be like, okay, we're going to have to go to lunch and dinner.
We got to get some blue crabs if we're in Maryland, right?
Yes. Oh my word. So for the crabs, it's Joe's Seafood, and that's in downtown DC. Joe's Seafood is amazing.
Notes.
And it's so good. I'm all about the experience. So the service is just like amazing, as well as the food, quality and delicious. And then for dinner,
well, that was lunch. Okay.
That was lunch. Remember, I said lunch and dinner. Remember? You don't? Okay. So for dinner, I would say Eddie V's.
Eddie V's?
Eddie V is in Tyson's Corner, Virginia. Again, superb service, and they never miss it. Like the food is always delicious. Sometimes you can go to certain restaurants, and I know this because I'm a foodie. You can go to some restaurants and you be like, okay, so who's the chef here today? It's somebody different. It's not the same.
Yeah.
But with Eddie V's, it is always the same. Just delicious. I mean, so those would be my 2 recommendations. Are we going to make it happen?
Good question. We better make it happen.
We'll have to do it AC. So Veronica introduced us to her term BC, which is before COVID. So we'll have to do that AC. After COVID. My girlfriend and I are making a list of AC activities, of stuff that we want to do that we can't do because all the travel and this and that.
That's cool.
So let's ask you that question. What is your go-to after COVID activity that you are so looking forward to?
I am so looking forward to traveling. Like I really, we all know because we enjoy traveling, right? I know.
Yeah.
But with my husband and I, we travel each year, and this year we have not went anywhere but from our living room to our basement to the bedroom to the kitchen. So I want to go to someone's island. I am telling you, and just enjoy ourselves. Retreat, AC for sure, without any reservation.
I think you will not be alone. I think there will be hordes of people going to find a retreat following COVID.
Yes, absolutely.
Hospitality is going to boom.
Hospitality is going to boom, which is why you might want to look at the different stock options as it relates to
Hospitality. Just saying. We're not making recommendations on this.
We are not. With the disclaimer, we are not making any recommendations, but yes, that hospitality industry during AC is going to be booming. for sure.
Fantastic. Is there anything else that we've missed that you'd love to share with our audience or John and I?
Yeah.
And anything that we've missed?
Okay, so we talked about a lot. And again, thank you all so much for having me. This has been so much fun and as well as insightful. I know your listeners got some really great nuggets out of our time together. But what I would say is I would leave them with this quote. It's by Dr. Michael Freeman. He's my advisor. And he said this: your noun is your next.
Your noun is
your noun is your next.
your next.
What you are doing now is going to prepare you for your next, which is why you must make certain that you stay in a place of preparation, like getting ready right now. What we are doing in this moment matters, right? So make certain that you, whatever it is, like I tell, my family, especially my son, I was like, listen, you are not coming out of this COVID without some things accomplished. What are we going to do? What are you doing? He's already written one book. I said, what are you going to do? You're going to write another book? What's going on? But I want to make certain that everyone that I'm connected to comes out of this this pandemic saying, you know what, I accomplished this, I accomplished that, and it did not stop me, but it propelled me. So your now is your next.
Your now is your next. Outstanding. Theresa, it has been a real pleasure to have you on here. I got to tell you, I'm so glad we were able to connect and find time that we could all join us. John was partially on, but needless to say, it is always great to see you. But you just have some great nuggets for us and for our audience. So thank you so much. I want to applaud you for your contribution to this show. It's been fantastic.
Awesome. Thank you all.